All right, welcome to the Alimentary Canal Clinic. I want you to go ahead and put on your virtual stethoscopes with me because today we're taking a clinical walkthrough of how your body miraculously turns the food you eat into the energy, blood, and strength you need every single day.
Think about the last time you ate your absolute favorite meal. You swallowed it, and then what? Where does it actually go? Today, we are going to track its complete journey inside the body, step by step. By the end of this explainer, you are going to have a doctor's level understanding of your own digestive system. Let's dive right in. Here is our clinical itinerary for today's ward rounds. We've got 4 phases to cover: the oral cavity ward, stomach processing, the small intestine, and finally, the large intestine and digestion.
Starting off with Phase 1, the oral cavity ward. Before we really get moving, what actually is digestion? Well, as clinicians, we define it as the process of breaking down complex food into simple, soluble substances. Why do we need to do that? Because honestly, our bodies simply cannot absorb complex foods directly. To actually fuel your cells, that food has to be converted into its simplest forms, things like glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids.
The very second food enters your mouth, 2 parallel processes kick off. On one side, you've got mechanical digestion. That's your teeth physically breaking the food into much smaller pieces. On the flip side, we have chemical digestion. Believe it or not, your body pumps out up to 1.5 liters of saliva a day just to break food down chemically.
Think of your teeth as highly specialized surgical tools. Your incisors cut, the canines tear, the premolars crush, and those big molars do the heavy grinding. And this thorough chewing is absolutely crucial. Why? Because it drastically increases the surface area of your food. When the surface area is larger, those digestive enzymes we're about to talk about can do their jobs way more efficiently. Chemically, this ward is fascinating. Your tongue isn't just there to sense sweet, sour, salty, and bitter flavors. It's actually working as a mixer, blending the chewed food with saliva to form a nice, manageable, round mass called a bolus. But here's the real magic trick. Your salivary glands secrete an enzyme known as salivary amylase. This amylase gets to work instantly, converting complex starches into maltose, which is a simple sugar. So digestion literally begins before you even swallow. Okay, down the hatch. Once you swallow, that bolus travels down into the esophagus or the food pipe. It transports the food using something called peristalsis. These are rhythmic, wave-like muscular movements that actively squeeze the food downward. But here is a massive clinical takeaway to remember. Absolutely no digestion happens here. The esophagus is strictly a transport tube. Moving right along down our anatomical pathway, we hit Phase 2, stomach processing. Let's check our gastric juice diagnostic checklist. When food drops into the stomach, it's hit with 3 major secretions. First up is hydrochloric acid, or HCl. This stuff is intense. It actively kills harmful bacteria and creates a highly acidic medium. We're talking a shockingly strong pH of 1.5 to 3.5. Second is the enzyme pepsin, which actually thrives in that extreme acid, and its job is to break complex proteins down into simpler peptides. And finally, mucus. This is absolutely essential because it literally protects your delicate stomach lining from being completely destroyed by its own acid. All of that aggressive mechanical churning and intense chemical mixing results in what we call chyme. Chyme is basically this thick, semi-liquid paste formed after the stomach is done working on the food. And this acidic paste is exactly what gets pushed forward into our next ward.
Which brings us to Phase 3, the small intestine.
Welcome to the VIP zone of your digestive tract. This is where complete digestion and actual absorption finally take place. Anatomically speaking, the small intestine is a massively long, coiled-up tube. For medical and biological purposes, we divide it into 3 distinct sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum.
Understanding how your body breaks down macronutrients here is huge. The small intestine is basically a mixing bowl, receiving digestive juices from multiple heavy-hitting organs. Your liver sends in bile juice, which tackles large fats, breaking them into smaller, manageable droplets, a clinical process we call emulsification. Meanwhile, the pancreas pumps in pancreatic juice to digest proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And finally, the intestine itself secretes its own intestinal juice to finish the job. Everything gets completely dismantled right here.
So the big question is, how does this broken down soup actually get into your systems? Enter the brilliant biological engineering of villi. These are tiny, finger-like structures lining the inner walls of the small intestine. Their one and only job is to massively increase the surface area so that all those perfectly digested nutrients can be absorbed straight into your bloodstream. This is the exact moment your food literally becomes your fuel.
And that takes us to our final stop. Phase 4, the large intestine and egestion.
Now, obviously, your body can't absorb absolutely everything. By the time the material gets to the large intestine, all the usable, high-value nutrients are long gone. So its primary functions are hydration recovery and cleanup. It absorbs any remaining water, pulls out specific salts, and starts solidifying that undigested leftover food to form waste or feces.
Finally, we hit the end of our anatomical journey with two very distinct structures. The rectum acts as a temporary storage vault, holding the feces until the body is ready, and the anus is the actual opening through which egestion occurs, which is just the formal clinical term for the removal of waste.
All right, let's do a rapid-fire revision of our clinical discharge pathway just to make sure we've got this locked in. Step 1, the mouth handles mechanical chewing and chemical saliva. Step 2, the esophagus is purely for transport. Step 3, the stomach does protein digestion and churning. Step 4, the small intestine acts as the ultimate site for full digestion and nutrient absorption. Step 5, the large intestine recovers water. And Step 6, the rectum and anus handle final storage and removal. Trace that pathway and you have officially mastered the anatomy of digestion.
I want to leave you with this one final thought. From mouth to anus, every single organ plays a crucial role in keeping you alive and energetic. Your body is just an absolute biological marvel. It's a perfectly tuned, highly complex clinic running 24/7 to sustain you. So the next time you dig into your favorite meal, take a second to appreciate the wild, invisible journey it's about to go on. But here is something to chew on, pun absolutely intended. Knowing that your gut has its own incredibly complex nervous system managing all of this autonomously, how much of your daily mood, your energy, and even your thoughts are actually being dictated by your digestive tract? It's pretty mind-blowing to think about. If you found this explainer helpful, keep learning and never stop wondering about the incredible machine that is your body.